Hey NCU students, how are you today? We're getting ready to start week 2, so I just want to hit a few quick notes for you. I'm going to glance down a few times here to make sure I get everything I wrote. This week, we're looking at the history of production operations management. It sounds kind of boring, I know. Really, it's very interesting. And so what I want you to focus on, there's a chart, it's a figure, figure 2.1. And it's a pretty good condensed version of all the history of, like, from beginning to end almost of production operation models and the big events that came into production and how those events impacted the world at that particular time. So take a look at it. I mean, it goes all the way back to the artisan time period in 1545. So that's quite a long ways back. At that time, for example, there were different materials, new tools, new technology. We wouldn't consider technology today, but new techniques and that sort of thing coming in to the world. And so artisans grabbed a hold of that and started making products and producing products for people. All the way up through current time, where we talk about mass customization efforts and that sort of thing. Really a very interesting topic. Also connected and discussed in the text. I'm talking about the chapter 2 now, by the way. When I said figure 2.1, I'm talking about in the text. Also in the text is the discussion of scientific management by Frederick Taylor. He died sometime in the 1950s, I think. And he was basically the father of scientific management. And his principles hang around today still. They're still in today's world. They've been demonized a little bit, though, quite frankly, in terms of factories, and lots of folks just they rail on the whole concept of scientific management. But there is some goodness on it. So when you read through that part of the chapter, I think it's on page 67, try to read it with an open mind and see both. There's definitely some things that just don't play well out of scientific management, okay, and Taylorism, but there are some things that came out of it that were good. Okay, so try to see both sides of that. Also, in the chapter to talk about, and when they talk about the historical progression of production, they also hit on sequence assembly, which is Henry Ford, and something close to my heart out here in the Detroit area. So we know that quite well. Frankly, the whole Henry Ford assembly line process, combined with Taylorism, Frederick Taylor, tended to dehumanize people quite a bit. So when you read this in the chapter, look at it through both today's eyes, and here we are in 2017, but also look at it through an early 1900s lens, and you might see some of these things a little bit different. Of course, we have lean production systems today. That's also on the timeline, and it's also part of this course. In fact, a big part of this course to help you understand. I wouldn't even say it's modern anymore. It's like, lean manufacturing is just something you got to do in almost every context, whether it be in manufacturing or whether it be in hospitals or service. I mean, you just have to think about eliminating waste and elevating people above projects and production. And then finally, I added an optional lesson, I guess, that talks about Taylorism and Ford and mass customization. And I think you might find it interesting. It's a way to really think hard about what happened then, what's happening now. Are they connected? Is there any kind of goodness that did come out of it? What makes a bad production system? All those sorts of things. So that's an optional thing. You don't have to fill anything out. It's just, look at the videos, read the questions, think about them, think on them. You don't have to write anything on it. Also coming out of this chapter is the whole discussion on transformation models. This harkens a little bit back to chapter 1. So if you need to go back and refresh your mind on what chapter 1 is about in terms of input and output and the transformation model of converting materials into consumer goods, what's that take? Chapter 2 hits on that again. So, okay, I think that's it. Listen, you guys are doing great. And I appreciate all the discussion threads from last week. A lot of great detail about your lives and why you're doing this MBA program and who you are and your families. So I'm really looking forward to continue to get to know you throughout these weeks. Again, don't be afraid to call me, text me, Send me emails or whatever you got to do. If you got a question, don't be afraid to reach out. Just remember, I'm 3 hours in front of you. So if it's 9 p.m. where you're at in the Pacific time zone out there, it's midnight here. So just bear that in mind and may not pick up the phone. All right, you guys have a great week. Thanks.